Welcome back to yet another general guide. For this video, I will be technically breaking my number one rule: no leaks. The gachas I am going to talk about today have not yet been announced and would probably not get announced either until May 5th or May 6th. The only part I will be leaking for this video is the run date of these gachas as well as their English logos that have been data mined. The rest of the information I use in this video all comes from the original runs on the Japanese server of these gachas. There is potential that these gachas would be announced during the May Colorful Corner on April 30th. This script was written on April 28th and then subsequently recorded the same day, meaning that the Colorful Corner has not yet happened, and that is if we get a Colorful Corner at all for May, as it's been very quiet about the entire thing as of writing and recording this. But I had been genuinely planning on making this video ever since these gachas were released in January on JP. I even had script notes already written for the video in question. But seeing as I was tied up in work, school, and 3.5 anniversary scripting and editing, the Recollection Festival took a back seat. This was until some specific sources shared to me yesterday on April 27 that the Colorful Stage movie release Recollection Festival gachas were coming to EN in May. And with my knowledge of how the Recollection Festival works for the movie tie-in, I knew I couldn't wait until the official announcement with scripting and starting this video. I really thought I had more time to make this video before we would see these gachas. I do genuinely wonder though if this gacha was specifically made to piss me off personally. Like, I wonder if a developer saw my original Recollection Festival video, the criticism I, and rightfully so, many other people gave, and then sat down in preparation for the second one and went, alright, how about we do the exact opposite? But backing up a bit before I lose my goddamn mind, this video will assume you have a general understanding of the first Recollection Festival, as this video will not go into great detail what everything means. But this is also a reminder that we have not yet actually seen the original Recollection Festival on the English, Taiwanese, or Korean server yet. The original Recollection Festival gacha might appear in August on EN, Taiwan, and Korea, but seeing as we are getting the citation mark second version of the Recollection Festival now, I am unsure if we will still get the original at all on these servers. Still, if you have not heard about the Recollection Festival, I suggest you watch my original video on the topic, as I go into depth about the different aspects of the Recollection Festival gacha and its premise. Just so you have the basic understanding of the Recollection Festival mechanics before you go into this one. A link to this video will be down in the description. To keep me from going on an actual rant about this gacha, we are going to go in some sort of order. So first, let's look at our current status of the limited gachas on the English server. On EN, Yearning for Spring, A Moment in the Night, One with My Crew, Romantic Bride, Scrambled Flower, Fluffy Dreamland, Maiden's Hope for a New Year, Nights of White, Graceful Marriage, Wondrous Journey, Secret Tea Time, Let's Enjoy Summer, and The Naive Voice That Cries Out to You are all already discontinued, as these gachas have already had or is having their final rerun as of recording this on April 28th, 2025. In the near future, we will see the discontinuation of a Moonlight Knight's Sister Rabbits gacha as well as the Sporty Girl gacha in May, and these are the final two limited gachas that make it into the original Recollection Festival. This is followed by the Before the Storm gacha and the Darkness Festa gacha being discontinued in June, then the Growing Feelings, Words in the Snow, and Cyber Snipe in July, Spooky Forest and New Year's Divine Beast gacha in August, and then finally Sweet Cute Valentine and Imperial Soldiers will have their final rerun in September before being discontinued. After this, we go back down to only 2 reruns per month, one having their first rerun and the second one having their final rerun. In order of cancellation, we will see Flight to the Future in October, Fluttering Maiden in November, Escape the Rain in December, City of Spirits in January, January, Under the Eternal Bells in February, Emotional Music March in March, and Welcome to Diner in April of 2026. And this means that these gachas have had their final rerun on the Japanese server as of currently recording this. In the near future, we will also probably see the final reruns of the Your Ticket to the City of Splendors, Grow Up With Me, and As Autumn Dusk Wane gachas. This is just an estimation from me personally, but they are the next up in line to get discontinued if we go after the pattern we have seen. I'm not going to make any estimations for when these gachas are having their final rerun, as I cannot predict that, but it's worth noting that they're probably next up in line to have their final rerun go off. So this is our current situation on EN and JP when it comes to discontinued gachas. Make sure to keep this in mind when planning your pulls if you want to pull from a standalone limited gacha instead of their entry into the Recollection Festival. It is also worth mentioning that the original Recollection Festival reached to discontinued gachas until May 2024, so only up to the Sporty Girl gacha, and all gachas discontinued before it, with the standard gacha pool reaching up until the event our happy ending, while the second Recollection Festival batch will have all permanent gachas up until the gacha The Way I Played That Day, with the limited card pool including all gachas up until the Imperial Soldiers gacha. With Imperial Soldiers obviously not having had its final rerun on the EN server, but it had its final rerun on the Japanese server when the Recollection Festival gachas were available on JP. This means that all gachas being discontinued after the Imperial Soldiers gacha have not yet been fully implemented into the Recollection Festival's gacha pool. And because these Recollection Festival gachas are way different than the original Recollection Festival gacha, we will have to wait for further Recollection Festivals to arrive to see the development of the discontinued gacha pool and what actually gets into each Recollection Festival. And before we get into the new Recollection Festival gachas rules, a refresher of our original situation in August. The original Recollection Festival that we haven't seen yet had a 6% chance for a 4-star, just like a Colorful or Bloom Festival. Included in the gacha are all limited cards discontinued by May 2024 Japanese time, so once again the Sporty Girl gacha, as well as all permanent cards until the event Our Happy Ending, which was in August of 2023 on the Japanese server. It also included all Colorful Festival cards released up until the Sporty Girl gacha. It did not include any Whirling cards, obviously, since they were not available in the designated gacha pool span, as well as no birthday cards or crossover cards being included. On top of this, we had an in-depth pity system, where 100 pulls would get you a random permanent card, 200 pulls would get you a random limited card, 300 pulls would get you a permanent card of your choosing, and 400 pulls would get you a limited card of your choosing from the available gacha pool, with extra rewards available for every 20 pulls you did or 10 points on the pity bar. To fill the whole pity bar, it required 120,000 free crystals, which was cut in half if you only used paid crystals, as paid crystals give double the points towards the gacha, with free crystals giving half a point while paid crystals are giving a full point. Once again, for a more in-depth explanation of this, go watch my original Recollection Festival video about the topic. So, are everybody on board? Memory refreshed? Great, let's look at the new gacha. Unlike the original Recollection Festival, the new one is split into 5 separate gachas, one for each unit, obviously. Leonid's unit gacha will be available between May 6th and May 11th. This is then replaced by More Jump on May 11th, which runs to May 16th, followed by Vivi Bad Squad between the 16th and the 21st of May, then Wonderland Showtime between the 21st and the 26th, and then finally Nycord at 25 between May 26th and May 31st. This of course means that each unit's Recollection Festival will be available for 5 days before being replaced with the next unit. And this is 1 day longer than the original Recollection Festival's run date. And at first glance, this might seem really good. I sure was excited when I saw the original Japanese announcement about the gacha being unit exclusive, but things only go downhill from here. The most glaring change is that they have lowered the gacha rate from the double drop rate we had on the original Recollection Festival, so 6%, to the standard 3% we have on every standard gacha. This is a massive downgrade, like an insanely big one. Secondly, the permanent gacha pool for each individual gacha reaches the event the way I played that day, meaning for each individual unit, the last event giving them cards are Leonid, This Way That Way, Zookeeper Day, which is also shared with More Jump. Vivi Bad Squad has Burn My Soul, Wonderland Showtime has Star of Your Own Story, and obviously for Nightcore 25 it is the event The Way I Played That Day. With the description of the gacha saying that certain limited cards up until that point will be included in the gacha pool. This is obviously very vague of them, not specifying what limited cards was or wasn't included in the gacha itself. But since we have seen this gacha on the Japanese server, we know how far the limited cards actually reach. Leonid and Nightcore 25 shares the same final gacha, being Sweet Cute Valentine, with more jumps final limited gacha being Fly to the Future, while Vivi Bad Squad and Wonderland Showtime will show up together in the Imperial Soldiers gacha. So all limited cards for each unit up until the listed final gachas are fair game in the new Recollection Festival gacha card pool. But this comes with a big asterisk. Not only are birthday card and crossover cards unavailable once again, just like the last Recollection Festival gacha, but the unit limited cards, as in the World Link cards, are also unavailable. The World Link cards being unavailable the last Recollection Festival was pretty obvious, as the gacha span did not include any World Link cards to pull from. But this time in the gacha span that is specified, the Sunken Shadows Nightcore 25 World Link event would have been available. But these unit limited cards are wholly unavailable in this unit focused Recollection Festival gacha. And on top of this, the colorful festival cards have also been removed from the gacha pool entirely, which is just a baffling decision altogether in my opinion. I can 100% see the argument for the removal of the Sunken Shadows World Link cards from this gacha pool, as it could be seen as unfair that Nightcore 25 is the only unit that gets their unit limited cards due to the time frame chosen for the Recollection Festival's gacha pool this time around. But even with this argument, I still find it quite weird, since these are unit focused gachas and it's not like the World Link cards are supposed to be that elusive. But I can still see the argument why they were removed. But removing the colorful festival cards, that is just legit making the gachas worse for everyone, especially seeing as they were available in the original version of the Recollection Festival, unlike the World Link cards. I really hope that this is not the base rules going forward, as the 6% chance for a 4-star and the inclusion of both the discontinued limited cards as well as the colorful festival cards was one of the only arguments as to why you should ever consider pulling from the Recollection Festival in the first place. Especially considering it's twice as expensive to spark from them than a regular limited gacha. The pity bar also returns for these Recollection Festival gachas for the exact same price as the previous version, keeping us at the base price of 120,000 crystals, using only 3 crystals to spark a single limited card. And obviously the pity does not carry over between the different gachas, because why would they ever give us something like that? Are you insane? And this time around, each pull you do gives you stickers like a regular permanent or limited gacha. You get 1 sticker per 1 pull, meaning that you get 10 stickers for a 10 pull. These can be used, assuming our gacha works the same as the Japanese gacha, not the Taiwanese one, to buy a limited gacha voucher for the normal price and the normal amount, meaning that there are 10 vouchers available for 10 stickers each. There is also the standard option of picking up 5 wish pieces for 1 sticker, and as well as a new option exclusive to the Recollection festivals, being a wish jewel costing 200 stickers or 60,000 crystals. I am pretty much 100% certain that we will get the Japanese version of these gachas, as our gachas are split into 5. But on the Taiwanese server, you could instead spark for a few selected limited cards from the sticker exchange, costing 200 stickers per card. Their gachas worked differently than the original Japanese version, with all 5 units being available at the same time, sharing stickers between each other. Their pity bar was also different, but was not shared among each other, meaning that each pity bar was mutually exclusive for that unit, while the stickers was universal between all 5. But considering the information I have been shared about the EN gachas, they seem to follow the Japanese rule set rather than the special version that came to Taiwan, meaning we cannot spark cards from the sticker exchange, and all stickers are mutually exclusive to the unit in question. On top of all this, while it at first glance seems really cool to have the gachas be limited to only one unit, I really do think that this is a detriment in the long run. Obviously, the most used argument will be it's for hyperfans of said unit, but even then I don't think that these gachas carry their own weight. The biggest argument for why splitting it into unit-based gachas is a bad idea is the fact that a lot of events get shattered into pieces. If you like both Zookeeper Day Shiho and Zookeeper Day Minori, it is now impossible to get both from the same gacha. If you say like the Under the Eternal Bells gacha, you have to pull from 3 separate unit Recollection Festival gachas to even have a chance to get all 3 of them. Even more outrageous, if you wanted all cards from the gacha Yearning for Spring A Moment in the Night, a gacha that is fully discontinued on EN since November, you would have to pull from 4 different gachas, since all 4 of the virtual singers are considered different units in the game. And as someone who is a massive fan of gachas like Under the Eternal Bells, Imperial Soldiers, Secret Tea Time and Spooky Forest, it is the entire set I want. And that is a very obvious flaw with shattering the Recollection Festival into 5 separate unit-focused gachas. Obviously, you can still make the argument, well, hyperfans only want their unit. They don't care about the full banner, which is fair, I can see the argument here. But I don't see any world where it's actually worth it for a real hyperfan to pull from these Recollection Festival gachas. I am going to assume that if you are a hyperfan of a specific character or unit, you have already pulled an insane amount for said unit and character, meaning 8 times out of 10 you probably have a big collection for said unit or character. To make this a more clear example, let's look at the Leonid Recollection Festival gacha. Leonid has altogether 77 cards available in the unit Recollection Festival gacha. Out of these, 65 are permanent and 12 are limited. If you have more than 38 cards from Leonid released before Zookeeper Day and carried by the scent of candles, each 4-star you get during the Recollection Festival pulls is a 50-50 to be a dupe, as 38 divided by 77 equals 0.493, which comes out as 49.3% chance of it being a dupe every time you get a 4-star. I also want to mention that this means there's only a 16% chance of getting a limited 4-star in the Leonid gacha specifically, which is slightly better than the original Recollection Festival rate for pure limited cards, but slightly worse than the full rates for any limited cards, including the colorful festival cards during the original Recollection Festival. For the other units, we have the rate of More Jump having 73 cards, 14 limited, 59 permanent, with a 19% chance for a limited card. Vivi Bad Squad has 78 cards available with 15 limited cards and 63 permanent, meaning a 19% chance for a limited. Wonderland Showtimes have 78 cards available in their gacha pool with 14 limited and 64 permanent, meaning an 18% chance for a limited card. Finally, Nycord at 25 have 69 cards, which 9 are limited and 60 are permanent, meaning that there is a 13% chance that you pull a limited out of the 69 card pool. Wrapping this back around to the example in question, I am not a Leonid need hyperfan of any kind. And up until Zookeeper Day, I have 21 cards already available through off-banner pulls. This means that if I personally were to pull, there is a 27% chance of me getting a dupe with each 4-star I get. And this number increases every time I get a new 4-star through the Recollection Festival. I am not someone who is a hyperfan of any unit in the game, with my cards being quite equal between all 5. But the unit I have the worst rates for if I were to pull from a Recollection Festival is Wonderland Showtime, where I have 33 out of the 78 available cards. This lands me on a staggering 42% chance that each 4-star I pull from the Wonderland Showtime unit Recollection Festival Gacha being a dupe. Without massively having gone for Wonderland Showtime specific gachas, I have landed on an almost 50% chance of getting a dupe each time I pull from the Recollection Festival. Which just confirms to me that people who are real hyper fans of one specific unit can easily land on something like 60 to 75% chance of a dupe during the gacha, if not even more. If you wish to calculate your own chances of getting a dupe from any of the unit gachas, you do it like this. Go into the characters tab and then press the characters option again at the bottom of the screen. With no other filters applied and sorting after rarity, filter it by the unit you wish to calculate. Then you count your cards from before the way I played that day. If you need help knowing which events are before, check either Sekai Wiki or Sekaipedia to make sure. Also make sure to not count eventual limited 4-star cards that was released after the Imperial Soldiers gacha. On top of this, you should also exclude all of the World Link, Birthday and Colorful Festival cards you have in your roster. Once again, if you're unsure what is a World Link card or a Colorful Festival card, use Sekai Wiki or Sekaipedia to double check. Once you have the number of cards that fit this criteria, note it down. For example, I have 18 cards from the Nycord 25 unit that fits this criteria. Then we take our number and divide it by the amount of cards available in the desired unit gacha. So in the example of my Nycord 25 cards, we take 18 divided by 69. This gives us the number 02608. You then move the numbers 2 steps forward, which gives us a 26% chance of me personally getting a duplicate if I were to pull from the Nycord at 25 unit Recollection Festival gacha. And in our example, it was a pretty spot on 26%. But if you say get 026.8, you can round it up to around 27% instead. This wouldn't have been as bad if we had the double chance for a 4-star. But with how bad the 3% chance for a 4-star can be, speaking from personal experience, on top of the no duplication protection, I see no world where it would be beneficial for a hyperfan to drop the insane price of 120,000 free crystals or 60,000 paid crystals on the unit Recollection Gachas if there wasn't one specific card they wanted to spark, and even then I would tell you to heavily reconsider. Obviously, some people are megalodons with a completely different tax bracket than me, and those people will still pull from this gacha no matter what I say. I wish those people the best of luck with the gachas and hope that they have above average luck when it comes to getting the limited cards they want, as no matter what I said during this video, they were already set on pulling, and good for them, they have the money for it. But for everyone else, free-to-play, mackerel, dolphin and even standard whales, I am pleading you to think this decision through very carefully. Twice for a new card of your favorite character or unit with the same amount of crystals. There is also a ton of highly anticipated gachas upcoming for each and every unit. We have Whip Yourself into Shape just around the corner over Rad Bad Squad in June with the first Bloom Festival, where does the Path of Thorns lead to in October, and obviously the 4th anniversary in September. We are in no short of gachas people have been waiting for. It is also very worth pointing out and remembering that it isn't worth losing everything or going broke for a single card in a gacha game. The only thing you can guarantee with this gacha is that you get one permanent card of your choosing at 90,000 crystals and one limited card of your choosing at 120,000 crystals, with the choices obviously being within the designated gacha pool we mentioned earlier. Everything else is down to RNG. You cannot guarantee you will get any limited or permanent 4-star during your pulls. At the end of the day, they are digital collectible PNGs. Sure, you own them on your account if you do pull them, but these PNGs and costumes exist elsewhere. They are documented online. It is not worth spending large amounts of money or your entire crystal savings for the game just to screw you over. I always say we are gacha players and therefore we are delusional by default. But I implore you to go into these gachas expecting the worst possible outcome. The 3% chance for a 4-star is crippling, and there is still only around a 15 to 20% chance of getting a limited card, which isn't a massive amount. So, wrapping back around to the original argument, I genuinely don't see any world where hyperfans should pull from these gachas instead of going for any of the upcoming new gachas for their favorite unit or character, or going for any of the final reruns available for that unit or character. Now, you could turn the argument around and say that this would be a great way to then pad out a unit you don't have a lot of cards for. But, like I displayed earlier, even my weakest unit, being Nycord at 25, has a 26% chance of being a dupe anytime I pull. And this number increases with each 4-star you get on the gacha that is not a dupe. It is also a question of if your unit is weak, it's probably because you don't like them as much as the other units, hence you haven't pulled for them in particular. So why would you then waste double the amount of crystals on a banner dedicated to a unit you clearly aren't that fond of? Especially when you could pull on a standard permanent or limited banner for that unit for half the price. It doesn't really make sense. And even if you want to continue the argument of padding out your unit rosters for your weaker units, I think it's better to wait for a colorful festival with the 6% drop rate and then use 120,000 crystals there to get both the banner set of the characters for the event as well as the higher drop rate, meaning more 4-stars, meaning in turn more chances for off-banner cards, as well as all of the Colorful Festival and Bloom Festival cards being available as off-banner pulls. Obviously, the limited cards will not be available if you were to pull from a Bloom Festival / Colorful Festival gacha. But with how small the chance is for a limited card to even get pulled from the Recollection Festival, in conjunction with the low drop rate of 4-star cards in general, the chances of getting more than 1 or 2 is very slim, which again can be dupes if you have a few limited cards from that unit already. It doesn't really feel like a feasible plan whatsoever to argue that you're going for the limited cards within the Recollection Festival gachas, even if they are the original draw of the gachas themselves. Obviously, I am not your mother, and neither is it my account or my crystals. I cannot tell you what you should or shouldn't do in Project Sekai. At the end of the day, the decision how you are gonna spend your crystals and money is up to you. My video's goals are as always to inform, clarify, and prepare you for the gacha so you can personally make an educated decision. I will, however, make the argument that the gacha is not worth it once again. With a 3% chance for a 4-star, the unit split gachas, the Colorfest card removal, the lack of whirling cards, the gacha pool cutoff point, the fact that there is no pity carryover to the next Recollection Festival batch, and that there is no shared pity between the 5 unit Recollection Festivals, the no dupe protection, the insanely steep price, and the high likelihood for duplicates with low likelihoods for limited cards in general, I really can't find a reason to genuinely recommend ever going for this gacha, even even as a hyperfan of a specific unit. It is better, in my opinion, to save these 120,000 crystals you are planning to spend and wait for the first version that we will hopefully get in August, with its double chance for a 4-star, larger card pool and inclusion of the RECOFEST cards. But with that, I think I've covered all of the information you needed to know about the new Recollection Festival that is just about to be released. Once again, the decision is all up to you if you wanna pull from these gachas, especially if you have a card you really want from the spark at the end of the pity bar. I can see the reason why you would wanna pull. But for those who watched my original Recollection Festival video already know my feelings and choice words for that gacha, and this mess of a second version has not made my feelings for the situation any fonder. I would almost go as far as calling this gacha a downright scam, but that's just my personal view of the matter as someone who interacts with the game far too much and also calculates rates, compiles information and reads massive amounts of data about the game. I really dislike how the Recollection Festival is panning out and the sort of practices and rates it applies. And as always, I really hate complaining about Colorful Palette and Sega because I genuinely love the work they are doing and the game they have given us. But at the end of the day, I am a paying player first, a content creator second, and loyal to Sega and Color Palette third. And I will not back down from calling out predatory and anti-consumerist practices on their part. Because as a content creator, I feel like it's my obligation to use my voice to talk about communication between us players and the creators, as well as the practices they employ. As I think it's very important to have open communication and criticize as well as scrutinize poor practices. But with that, I wanna see what you guys think about the unit-focused Recollection festivals. As always, I do try to read all of the comments, and while you're down there typing away, make sure you've left a like, subscribe to the channel and shared it with a friend. I also wanna thank all of my patrons for their continued financial support. And I wanna give an especially big and warm thank you to my append players, being Bambi, Charlie Toyism, Gabby C, Helen P 001 star, Katie, Mia Marie 21, Oppo Siren, Peterish, Ramaru, Shoop, Snobby Hickory, and Veritas Uwu. All of you guys are truly amazing for continuously supporting me and making it possible for me to make these larger videos as well. And if you want to support me that little bit extra by joining my Patreon, I will have a link to it down in the description. But with that, thank you for making it to the end of this video. I've rambled far long enough. I will not keep you here any longer. Let's get out of here for now.